I never believed in ghosts until I found myself locked in the basement with a voice that wasn't mine. It started as a normal evening. My roommate, Sarah, had gone out, leaving me alone in our small, creaky apartment. I decided to tackle the mess in the basement, something we had been avoiding for weeks. The basement was typical for an old building, damp, poorly lit, and filled with boxes left by previous tenants. As I was sorting through some old clothes, I heard a faint whisper. I froze, my heart racing. The sound was barely audible, but it distinctly said, "Help me." I rationalized it away, thinking it must be the wind or some distant noise from outside. I continued working, but the whisper came again, clearer this time. "Help me, please." It sounded desperate, and it was definitely coming from the corner of the basement. I hesitated, feeling a chill run down my spine. Mustering my courage, I called out, "Hello? Is someone there?" Silence. I was ready to chalk it up to my imagination when the basement door suddenly slammed shut. I rushed to open it, but the handle wouldn't budge. Panic set in as I realized I was locked in. Then, I heard the whisper again, but now it was right behind me. "Help me. It's so cold." I spun around, my flashlight flickering in the dim light, revealing nothing but shadows. The voice sounded so close, so real. It wasn't just in my head. I pounded on the door, yelling for help, but my cries were swallowed by the darkness. Suddenly, the light from my flashlight illuminated a set of old, dusty stairs leading down to a part of the basement I didn't know existed. The voice came again, louder, "Please, help me." Against my better judgment, I stepped toward the stairs, drawn by the sheer despair in the voice. As I descended, the air grew colder, and the smell of damp earth became stronger. At the bottom, I found a small, forgotten room. In the center of the room was a single broken chair, and on it sat an old tape recorder. The whispering voice was coming from it, repeating the same phrase, "Help me, it's so cold." I was both relieved and terrified. I picked up the tape recorder, noticing it was ancient and covered in dust. As I inspected it, the door behind me creaked open, and the room flooded with the sounds of footsteps. But when I turned around, no one was there. Suddenly, the basement door burst open, and Sarah's voice called out for me. She found me standing in the darkness, clutching the tape recorder, pale and shaking. I told her everything, but when we played back the tape, it was silent. No whispers, no voice. We moved out shortly after. I don't know who or what was trying to communicate with me that night, but I often wonder if I was the first to hear that voice. The thought that still chills me is whether the voice was from someone who was once locked in that basement, desperately calling for help that never came.